Budden Podcast, man. That shit is for me. It is sad to see it go because I'm sort of new to podcasting. Like I've been watching them for months, but I'm new compared to people that's been doing it for years in terms of watching it. So like that was one of them that I was like really gravitating towards, like really in sync and watching the shit. You know, my wife was giving me shit. Oh, why do you watch him? I'm like, it's fucking entertaining. Like,
definitely is.
Everybody wants to bring up his past and what he did 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I said, listen, man, people can fucking change, man. People make mistakes. He says it every fucking time. I hear him.
Well, that
kind of, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, listen, like, the fuck? Like,
well, when you say his past circle back to him?
Not just the dumb shit he did. It's dumb. I'm not agreeing with what he did. I'm not, you know, but come on. He's trying, you know, that's his fucking past. We gotta let it go. But this is why this hurts even more because it's like, what the fuck? I mean, it was bad enough to see Rory and Mal not on the show. Not that Ice and Ish isn't, you know, but obviously they've been together for years, so that's kind of different. Especially for those who've been watching since episode 1, you must feel different.
Yeah,
seeing the energy like that. So for me, I mean, and now this Olivia shit came out, and it's not looking good. I was watching the episode, and I was like, I didn't notice it at first, but maybe like 6-7 minutes in, I didn't notice the Cash App, and I was like, oh man, don't tell me he lost the endorsement with the Cash App.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that's when that video you was watching earlier. That's why I went and searching for the shit, and I saw that shit. I was like, I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, you gotta move smart. You in a workplace. I mean, I get it. There's no knock on her. I mean, commend, you know, I'm happy she was brave enough to come out because, again, not a lot of women are brave enough to do so, and they allow perpetrators to go on longer, but, you know, but it's fucked up. I don't wish, you know, ill upon Joe, but it's a lot of shit going on, man. So how y'all feel about all of this?
Man, it feels like shit. I'm pissed because, like, there's a particular form of transparency that I've always respected him for, and it's kind of like he started to play into the antics, but the antics not of what exists in society, but the antics of which he creates, of the energy that he wants to, I guess, portray to the audience, whoever's listening or whatever the case may be. I've always liked Joe Budden for his information, even with music.
Yeah.
The way that he speaks on his emotion, the way that he speaks on situations with females and the debacles that he go through musically. For people to say that he's trash, like I'm everybody has their own opinion, but I mean, come on, you're not. Anybody who listens to hip hop ain't finna literally sit here and say this man's trash. Yeah. We all know what he's capable of delivering. This is why he was even on Slaughterhouse in the first place. Like, come on. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Because of I heard the Fresh and Fit pod. I fuck with them, but
started watching that as well. Hilarious.
It's just that I'm like, come on, guys. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And then one of the guys were like, kind of giving a synopsis on what the pod was actually, I guess, about what was happening in a pod. And there's a lot where he was like, it seems like he was slanting towards Rory and Mal. And I'm like, if you watch the pod the way we people who watch the JVP watch the pod, this isn't like a slight to anyone because we're feeling like it's like a breakup of some shit we don't want to see broken up. Yeah. So it seemed like he had his like position. It seems like everyone kind of takes a position on who they feel is right. I'm kind of looking at the situation fall apart like, damn, I don't want this to be this way, right? Not knocking of how it happened because things happen, but I'm kind of like pissed at the way that Joe went about the situation and the way he snapped on them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Regardless of the situation, but I do understand he was hurt. I do understand how he feels a certain type of way, but also I can understand, you know, where Joe's coming from, where how he would feel about the situation on certain circumstances. Then I heard Mal and Rory's side, and it's like, damn, this is a whole other side at which I'm not necessarily paying attention to I'm seeing the energy, but I'm not paying attention. I slightly am. I see the Amiri hats. I see the, you know what I'm saying? His weird put togethers, and he's fronting on this, and the slight jabs that they're doing. I pay attention to all of it, but it's like, to me, it's all humor. But I know I can sense when it's serious, because I know I've seen it at its low and at its high. To be like, all right, this is a little off. This ain't kind of where they go with shit. But it seems like people who are more leaning towards the business are more leaning towards Joe's side. Like, if I'm running a business and this is what you have to abide by or follow up with, this is how this works, or this is how this goes, they're probably siding with Joe if they don't know the details. But I feel like if a person has been watching it and they know the details, they're not siding with anyone. Yeah. They're pretty much like taking the same stance that I'm taking. The pod was always great for its information that it was given. Always. Now, whether or not I liked anybody on the pod, I liked all of them, nonetheless. But it's like the information is what I loved more. Like how they would deliver the information and his little moments where Joe is snapping, because we need certain stuff. But it's like, again, for you to speak on creatives and creators being paid to not pay your own creatives, and those things are like, come on. They're contradictions, and we all human and we all learn from them. But at the end of the day, it's like, come on, bro. You kind of dragging it.
Agree.
You know what I'm saying? All in all, though, I'm confident that even with the split, they can. I hope they respectfully, can be friends, and two can still coexist. You ain't got to do personables, but I'm gonna pass it on because I want to spin back around because I do want to insert some information. Go ahead, MVP.
Well, I gotta say, there's a lot of information that pretty much came out. Between Joe Budden, Olivia, and that's what y'all saying. The whole podcast. I wasn't super heavy on Joe on the podcast. Like, I'll watch it every now and then. So I'll still, I guess, feel a way about Rory and Mal separating from Joe as well. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just a lot of information, right? I feel like last week when we didn't have enough of the information that like we siding with Joe and etc. But there's certain things that he would say that I would be like not conflicted, but like against. Like when he would talk about like, oh, just pull out the calculator and you'll get your information or whatever. It's like, well,
it's condescending.
Yeah, it's condescending, and it's like, well, what information are they supposed to plug into the calculator? Like they check, it's like no matter what numbers you could say. Like if I give you any random amount of money, right? I tell you plug it back in. Say like you manage to plug the number back in. Whatever number that you see at the ending will always be correct because you haven't given me any information to compare it to say, oh no, this is wrong or this is right. So I mean, and everyone's coming at him saying that pretty much he got to take on the leadership, and he also apologizes to everyone, saying that he could have done better. So kudos to him. Have y'all seen? I just want to know. Y'all seen? What's his name? Andrew Schultz, the Brilliant
Idiots. Yo,
yeah.
he
ripped.
That's what I was gonna come back. That's what I was saying.
Oh, okay, my bad. All right, so we spin back to that. We spin back to that.
So I didn't see that, so I'm gonna need y'all to fill me in on all the details, and I can watch it after.
Pretty much, it's a roast session.
Bro,
I can imagine that's what they were doing. I mean, they were waiting. Not that they were waiting for that, but Charlemagne kind of forget all of that.
My apologies. I couldn't.
Oh,
I'm weak, but I'm not gonna hold you. Andrew Schultz had a street sweeper.
Oh, he was wild.
Yo, he had a street sweeper, dogs.
We need to
that also changed my perspective again. Actually, when I watched after hearing what he said, I was like, you know what? That kind of like
it was tug of war because right when the situation first broke out, right, Rory Mal wasn't saying much, and Joe sort of had to speak about it, right, and this is where I was with Joe because I'm like sort of like it is difficult not that it's difficult, but when you go into business and you with friends, right? Like we do now, and I'll tell you why I hold Joe accountable after the fact. You're not really thinking about it in that aspect. You're just, especially if y'all breaking a lot of bread together. Again, they said it wasn't about the money, but I think for Joe's perspective, I was like, it is tough because when you're all friends, but you're the boss, so it's like if they don't show up for work or whatever the case is, it's like if that was anybody else and you at any other company, you have to reprimand them for that, right? But because it's your man's, it's difficult to sort of have that conversation. I don't think it's difficult, but I think because, and I'll say he's allowed because he is the boss, right? He's allowed a certain kind of like energy around to where everyone is super cool. It's a super relaxed environment. Now he's hiring all these positions and shit to really like button everything up. But before it was just very relaxed. But it kind of ended up biting him in the ass, which I wish it didn't, because I wish sort of like with Rory and Maul, even if it was a relaxed and chill environment, there still should have been some sort of understanding. So I was sort of with Joe at the beginning where it was like, you know, where it's like it's difficult. Like he shouldn't, like for example, when he told Rory to take a few days off, Maul felt the way about that. Yeah. But Joe is the person to say that. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? And it was sort of like, and I get where Maul is coming from, because Maul is in homie mode, in friend mode. Yeah. But I'm like, yo, sometimes that has to separate. We are friends and we do work together. However, like I had a similar situation and it was crazy, and I understand the feeling, right? Like I had a homie, he came to work late every day, and I got him the fucking job. So it's like, and he has to report to me. So it's sort of like, you doing all of that shit, it's making me look crazy because that's my reputation. But that's my man. So I'm like, I'll be a little lenient, like, bro, like you got to clean it up, like you can't, you know. But it's like when other employees see shit like that, it's like, all right, you letting him do whatever now. It puts you in a position, then that also can put yourself, if you're not Joe's the top boss anyway, so who's gonna fire him? But at the end of the day, what Joe should have did, and why I want to hold him he wasn't transparent enough. Like you should have set. I don't think you have to set. I think when you're with a group of friends, there's certain people that you don't have to have the conversation with. And I think that's what Joe was getting at. You don't have to have the conversation. You don't need to be like, yo, I'm the fucking boss. Everyone fucking knows that. That's not something you need to throw in everyone's faces. But in the end, it kind of bit him in the ass because things were just too relaxed. And of course, Rory and Maul fucking respond. And I'm like, damn, Joe, it's like that. Because right now it's like you're percentage partners, right? So it's like, yes, you should have insight to what comes in, right? Like if Joe gets a deal, whatever he's allocating to the podcast specifically, that's what you're getting a cut out of. So you should know what's coming into the podcast. But again, it goes back to transparency, right? Because Joe is saying, well, that deal, he's not allowed to reveal the details. But why not? If you would have said that from the beginning of time, like if I come in and I'm like, yo, I don't know, Tidal just gave us a $10 million deal, right? Even if they tell me like, I can't tell you, I guess that's different, right? Because he would legally be thing, but you don't necessarily need contract, right? But like, if all right, cool, they give me 10 mil, I don't got to tell you it's 10 mil. But if I decide to put in 5 mil into the podcast, I can tell you that number because that's not the exact. You get what I'm saying? So it's just more or less. Or what he should have did was told them ahead of time, like, yo, the reason I'm not giving you the numbers is because I can't. You know what I'm saying? Now he's saying that, and now he's going, I didn't know I had to. That should have been said because anybody would have felt the way. Right. That's just, you can't sit from a perspective and be like, oh, you have no reason to feel the way. Like, yo, we get a percentage, but we don't know what's coming in. You came on a show and you said, you was Spotify offered you this money and you turned it down. You didn't even talk to us about it. I'm having that conversation with y'all. Even if I feel a way, I'm going to come and be like, yo, what do you think? Like, I know I'm being extra. I know how I feel, but what's good? Because that's money in your pocket too. You get what I'm saying? So there should have been that conversation and that transparency. Olivia Dope, that's crazy. I don't watch that podcast. See the things that I don't watch it enough. Like I watched a few and I couldn't get into it. That's unfortunate. Joe should have just been, I don't know what he was thinking. There's no excuse for it. He was joking. I get it. You have your certain homegirls where you can play like that. Like there's that environment that, where it's a play for him, but obviously she wasn't down for that, and he should have been able to read the room. And then just to really circle back to all of this shit now, I see him apologize. It's too late. I mean, I get it, but it just looks like you're doing a PR. Everyone, I started reading the comments too just to see. No one, like, even if he genuinely means it, at this point now, it's like, now you're apologizing to Rory. I understand to Olivia. Yes, you definitely owe her an apology. That's definitely. But now you're apologizing.
You taking back what you said.
Yeah, like it's just let it go now because it looks like you're backtracking because you're dealing with repercussions.
Sorry. Well, the one thing I would say about that, it seems like Joe had a certain insight of on his perspective, and when Rory was when he was talking about meeting the one of the managers or something like title, that, for a title, and like they was just having lunch, but and they was just trying to chill or whatever the case is. He wasn't trying to come at Joe or whatever. They just been happy to be doing whatever activity at the moment and whatever discussions that they was having. But for Joe perspective, he looked at it like, oh, you try to go behind my back, I guess.
But do y'all agree with Joe on that though? I don't agree with that.
Nah.
I don't.
Because I mean, first and foremost, anything that
I'm expecting you to. All right, there's a contradiction in that because for Joe to get mad at him and then saying that you're not bringing nothing to the pod, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not allowing him to actually bring anything to the pod because you think that you can outthink everybody in that room when it comes to the podding thing. Mm. Do we not agree? But that's the way that he says. That's the way that he talks. And that's the way that he expresses himself when he's talking about these guys. Now, the fact that they're not sitting next to him, his energy is as if it's like they don't do anything. What are they bringing to the table?
Mm-hmm. It starts to become something where it's like, dude, you do know that this is something that y'all built into episode 3, 4.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And some change. You finna tell me that these people ain't do nothing? Ain't bring nothing? They have hives. Each of them have hives. Yeah. What are we discussing right now? What are we talking about? Mm.
But then, like you said earlier, circle back around, Andrew Schultz listening to the Brilliant Idiots podcast, they were smoking the shit
out of Joe Budden. And it was the last,
Andrew Schultz was gunning the last like 3 pods. Like I heard them back to back.
I was like, nigga, this nigga is
shooting from the hip every time.
Oh no,
what is that rapper's name?
The one with the big podcast?
Yeah, he was violent.
That guy, yeah.
But him, he was.
I'm not gonna lie. When he was doing that, he lost me a couple of times. Like, is he talking about Joe?
Yeah, and that's where you gotta give it. Andrew is funny as fuck.
Right.
Like he has a way with shit. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time,
this is what I wanted to speak on. Because there was a point in time where I was at odds with my own feelings about the situation between him and Charlamagne the God. Because I really believe that those two are like one of the biggest pillars, both of them, of the podcast world in terms of for black people. Now Joe Rogan, probably somebody else is in the other side, but
they should throw something in the ring.
Them two, because what they did for the podcast world and the way that their voices have changed and opened doors up for the podcast world. But the fight came at which Joe was saying, you're not owning what you're in, and I'm owning what I'm doing. And it's like, shit, I don't know who, but I'm listening to both pods. Mm-hmm. So I'm hearing the shots, you know what I'm saying? But it's not only the Brilliant Idiots, also $1 million worth of game. They had situations with Joe Budden as well. All right. It starts to, this is not a narrative anymore. This is becoming where your past of behavior is trickling into the modern podcast era and world with your co-podcasters. Instead of mending together and creating this, you're kind of making it seem like they don't own parts of their shit, or they're not in the owner's stage of more percentage of the company that they own, in terms of I own 100, you own 80 type of situation with them. And it's like every time he's done that, it's like they're like, yo, what the fuck are you talking about? Like we get money out this motherfucker. And now it's not like they're just saying it. If you guys watch $1 million worth of game, have ever paid $1 million worth of game? Have ever?
No, I don't know if I watched it. I didn't look at
the fucking elevation in that pod. Not only the information I caught off that pod, it's crazy. Dogs, these niggas be having people on there that's just more than one thing. It ain't just one. Credit. Some nigga was on there with credit shit.
bro, that shit was legit. I tried it. It helped me in multiple different circumstances. He had another nigga with Tony the Closer. That's his name. He does this thing with real estate, but it's like where you don't necessarily have to be there or have a license. It's a way to be a middleman. I know. Okay, got me. Mm. This is what I was trying to get you some semi on, because you know in a sense shit about it. But if you just peep the info that he is just showcasing, you'll be like, whoa, like holy.
Yeah. It's ridiculous,
like,
bro.
It's like we gonna talk about that on some personal.
We on episode 28 right now. We got.
Anyways, like bro. It's a reason why like this. Even though we are pod, it's great to do work on how to formulate better, bigger, get more into the niche, create a bigger or an avenue for such. Like it's such a call for that, because this is still new grounds. Even they're saying. This shit is still new grounds. Yeah, this is at which there is no, hold or no brick wall quite yet. And it's everybody's still scrambling, finding their niche and finding their ways. The Kevin Samuels, the Fresh and Fits. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's different areas that's starting to pop out now where it's like, holy crap. Like, see, the thing that is cool, but I've heard of another one. I forgot what the name is. Her name is Mandy, and oh my gosh, I feel so bad for not knowing her name.
It was on the same network. I feel like he had two. I feel like he did have two women podcasts.
Mandy B and Bridget Kelly.
No, Mandy is one of the women who's on the other pod, but she was on that pod and made that pod. Her and that other chick made that pod was crazy. It's like, I'm trying to get the name of it. We're gonna I'm gonna make sure to find that and plug that in, because like they pod for two females. Yeah. It was juicy, bro. It was a good, like, I caught myself stumbling into it and like fully like listening to it. I'm like, yo, this is fire though. It's like information where it's like me as a man, I can kind of come in and be like, oh, okay, I don't know women think like that. Oh, this is why they're okay. Let me go back to what I do. Yeah. But nonetheless, and the fight between them two now, the Mandy situation, he got Mandy on a particular. And what the See the Thing podcast is. This is the reason why I'm bringing that up. And then Charlamagne got her underneath her other podcast underneath the Black Effect.
Oh,
right. So
conflict of interest.
So it's not a conflict of interest. They gonna let them eat because they like this woman's hard work and she's doing what she need to do. Like her personality is out this for real. It's like it's out this world. But nonetheless, it's like I'm seeing. But even Charlamagne and God opened mad. There's so many podcasts he got underneath that Black Effect. It's fucking crazy, bro. Just hilarious. She got a pod. Glasses Malone got a pod on there. It's a couple people, but these are interesting people though. Yeah. Like they informative. They got like I checked in a couple. I'm like, yo, this is fire, bro.
I mean, they put in the work. They deserve the opportunity, and I'm happy that they got that, and they were put in that position because you work hard because they built their shit from their platforms from scratch. So they definitely deserve it.
The thing is that fight, it even as potters, it's like, damn, who do we choose? Like, what side? Who's right? Who's wrong? It's that. Well, how do you feel about that?
Well, if I was in their shoes, like in the middle of it, I don't think you wouldn't really have to choose a side. You have to. It depends on what information comes to you. I guess that would influence what side you're going to choose. But after hearing all of this, Joe obviously could have done better and clean up whatever his act is. Mount Rory, the whole thing pretty much just could have been in conversation. Like they could have all talked it out. I don't know if it's something to be talked out like on a podcast or in the air. I don't actually think that it should be there. I think they should just like let each other know each other's situations. Like when Joe came at Rory with the management or whatever the case is. Like I feel like if everybody was to be transparent as they preaching or whatever, then they want to be in this spot. But they wasn't transparent completely with each other, and that's why they're in the spot. And Joe's leadership as well. So
Joe is definitely at fault. I would say I don't have a problem with Joe, to be honest with you. It's just if you would have been upfront with them from the beginning, because I think he was saying he took it as a joke, like he wasn't taking it serious before. But that's
ego.
Listen, they're profit partners. They're not. You get what I'm saying? Like they get a percentage of it. So if they're saying, hey, you know, they shouldn't even have to ask that. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Like the minute money comes in and money is being allocated to a podcast, the profit people, the first ones to know. Like, yo, this is what's coming in. This is the. If you forget and you ask me again, I'm telling you, we're on episode 400 and change. There's no reason for me to. And I think I don't want to say Joe changed because of the money or whatever, but I think it really started getting to his head. I don't want to say it like that, but if your friends is asking you that question, and these are your friends, and this is episode 400 something, they're entitled to ask that question without the backlash.
Pay the creators.
Yeah, he got a little crazy. The shit that you brought up with Rory. Rory gets a phone call from the dude from Tidal, right? Meets him for lunch. He's talking to Rory about a deal. It's not like Rory said, "Yeah, we're gonna do it." Yeah. Where do we sign? He literally got pulled into it. He found out about it. It's not like he didn't go to no one else. He went to Joe first, made the phone call. If y'all call me tomorrow and go, yo, I spoke to someone at Apple. They're interested in giving us a deal. Why am I mad at you right now? Is that not more money?
I think like what you're saying is an ego thing with Joe. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Why is this guy from Tidal hitting you up and whatever? This is my podcast. So yeah, I wouldn't look at it that way. I personally wouldn't look at it.
Yes,
that's what he.
Yes, but it's episode 400 something.
Right.
And plus, Maul was your man's before that.
Right.
So it's different. I'm not saying you can't beef with your homies. You're gonna do that. Brothers do that. Brothers and sisters do. You're gonna beef.
We do that.
But I can't look at y'all in your face and you ask me something about the pod and I say it's none of your business. Like that, there's something wrong there. Like, I get it, Joe, you feel away because they're questioning certain shit, but the only reason they're questioning it is because you weren't transparent enough in the first place. So it's like they literally found out you turned down a deal with Spotify, the second deal, whatever, the renewal, whatever you want to call it, on air. Like, you didn't even tell them that before. Like, they just sitting there like, what, nigga? Like, you turned it down. Like, what deal? What are you talking about? So I think that's where the issue lies, and that's why I'm gonna have to go with Rory and Maul on that. It just could have been avoided, you know, if the transparent. I didn't like the way Joe was going about it, because one thing about Joe, there got to be some fucking accountability, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. Like, there's a lot of shit I feel him on, but the shit you fuck up on, bro, just say you fucked up. That's it. The ego thing, listen, I fuck up all the time. I'm not perfect. I may think I am. But if you call me out, the facts is there. I watch the tapes. I go back and I look at it. Nah, the ego got to go to the side. Yo, Roy, my bad. You know what I'm saying?
Joe does, like, he does have forms of transparency. But the thing is this. He'll apologize, right? What people are saying, what's popping out to me, is they keep saying he is one way when the cameras are off. When the cameras are on, you start doing these things where it's like, yo, what are you doing? And it's to the point that they're like live saying, yo, you're bugging. You're like, you gotta relax. And he'll be like, all right, hey, fuck that shit. And it's like, it's not bad. It's entertaining to us, but it's like, for the people who keep being introduced to things on a general standpoint, whether it's the money, whether it's the back end with the touring, you know what I'm saying? Like that money, that $400K that they were saying that was missing, from accounting.
From accounting, yeah.
It's like, dude, we shouldn't be finding these things out here. Like, here, it's weird. And then you're saying transparency for the fans. You make it where it's like you're leveraging it.
Yeah.
It seems, all right. He is technically a narcissist. You gotta admit that to yourself. If you don't admit that to yourself, you're not gonna really get what Joe Budden is and what he's doing. He is a narcissist. He is. Whether he knows it, but sometimes he doesn't, and he thinks that he's not. But he is, and the shit pops out a lot of the times. I don't want to like circle too much because it's kind of like, I do want to see what comes out of the situation. I just did want to bring up the whole Charlamagne the God situation because when I was looking at the situation, I'm like, yo, damn, Joe might have a point. I did not see the full move of Joe's yet. This is why I'm like, he might have a point. Then some of it started like leaking through, and I'm like, I'm looking at Charlamagne the God. I'm like, I'm not gonna lie. If I was to choose a road, I thought I would have went Joe Budden, but my personality would have me in Charlamagne the God. My personality, who I am as a person, would have me in Charlamagne the God because I can't. I'm not, even if I'm like, these people are not really understanding what I'm doing for them, I can't do that. Like, I'm not wired that way. I'm wired at which, like, I'll even take the back of an L just so everybody else can shine as long as I can live. You get me? So it's like, if I'm above my living means, I'm good. Like, that's how comfortable as a human being I am. And then it's like, if you good, then I'm chilling. But Joe ain't. Like, it's like me, my pod. When you start looking at things a certain way, it's like, you could have named it another network, but you said Joe Budden Network. You could have named the pod something else, but you said Joe Budden Pod. It's like these things leak through.
Yeah. At the beginning, though, when they chose that name, I don't think it bothered them so much. They're like, who cares? Whatever. We understand it is your podcast.
But now.
Right? Now, we might need to remix that. We might need to. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, man, like, I don't think he should have went about it that way. Like, if it was just coworkers, like academics, something like that, fine. You kill him like that. No one would really care. But it looks a little nasty. You know, it's mine. Everyone knows that. I don't feel like that's something you need to air out. The only thing I will say is, yes, if he told someone to stay home 2 days, that's within his right. You get what I'm saying? However, I don't agree with the man. If Rory's trying to bring bread to the table, that's stupid. And then you turn around and say they don't bring nothing to the table. To your point, one of the things that Joe says constantly, there's so much money. We making a killing. We doing this. So it's like, what's the problem? The other thing that kills me is, because their contract is different, right? Like, it's a term. I guess it's years, which is smart, actually. So they can always renegotiate, right? Your plan was to determine the salary? That's fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't care how you put it. I understand. Here's the thing. There's all this money is on the table. What does it matter? And they were with you from the beginning. When you was making nothing for what, 2 years, 3 years, whatever they was saying. So I'm not saying you getting the bigger cut. You're getting the bigger cut. Whatever it is, 80%, whatever, bro. 80% of 50 million is a lot. It can't be killing you that much, even if they come and negotiate and say, yo, we want an additional percent. So what? Fine, there's a cap at some point. But for them, nah. And Parks, I'm not feeling Parks no more. I used to like Parks, but he coming off a little for me. Parks, I don't know.
Outshine.
I get it. I haven't watched enough. I've only seen like maybe 90 to 100 episodes. But Parks should have been saying that when it was there. Like, I felt like when when Rory Mal first came back and they was venting there together, Parks wasn't giving that much. Like, he was, but now he's going off. And I noticed, I don't want to jump on him too much, but I don't like it just a little bit. I don't know. And then now it's a lot of backtracking. I don't like the backtracking. Like, what was it, episode 438? It's a lot of, if I said anything to offend anyone. You know what you were saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, come on. Like so for me, that bothers me a little bit. And that's what Rory Moore was speaking to. Like, yo, we didn't even take our Patreon checks because we wanted the guys to get it because they were complaining about being overworked and underpaid. And then they kept on saying Parks' name. Like, you were part of that. And if I'm Parks and I know you did that for me, I don't got Joe. You by yourself on this rant. This got to be a personal.
Right.
You can't. Right now, you can't. And so for me, that's just how I look at it. I know I'm an asshole, but there's a limit. There's a limit. You have to appreciate. I don't care how much of an asshole I am. You could throw 100 million here. Yeah, I'm gonna act crazy, but nah. Not only am I getting my bread, I'll be like, yo, here's a house, a Lambo. That's up front. Here, gifts. Because y'all was with me from the jump. There has to be a level of appreciation. But for Parks, I'm not feeling his energy right now. Because even Ice and Ish right now is giving it to Joe. I don't know if that's for show, but they were calling him out on his shit with like, yo, like y'all built something special or whatever, and it was like they was kind of trying to break it down to him or whatever. I don't know if that was for show. I don't know. But it's good to see. But I like that though, when you have friends that's holding you accountable. They don't give a fuck. You're an idiot, you know. So, I see Rory and Maul now. You know, they might be starting their own podcast, which I love. Here's the thing: Joe's whole thing is fuck contracts. Yo, I don't want to screw nobody. Blah blah blah. And the first thing you say if they try to start a podcast is you're gonna sue them. Right. I'm like, come on, bro. You already got all that money.
Right.
If you don't, especially if you don't have to give them they cut. Well, he does have to give them they cut for 1 more year. But that's why he was. I think that's why. If he didn't have to pay them for the rest of the year, I think he wouldn't have cared. In my personal opinion. But I like the artwork. I thought that shit was dope. It'll be interesting to see what them by themselves. I mean, watching them, they'll be all right.
Go back to the Brilliant Idiots. Andrew Schultz was, I think, frying them for their podcast too. Like I ain't get to watch their little. I don't know if it's a makeshift podcast or whatever. I'm going off of Andrew Schultz, so like he pretty much is.
It was a response.
It was a response
to Joe.
To Joe. All right.
Tweaking.
Okay. But yeah, he was just going in on them. There's no other way to really put it. He's like, it was like they're not made to do podcasts.
You can't say that. I don't like that. Like don't shut shit down. Come on.
He's a comedian. He's a comedian.
Yeah.
And he got
he's in his comedian. Oh, I thought he was.
Come on, he know Andrew don't give a. He don't.
Yeah.
He don't. I'm smoking everything.
Just like if DJ Academic, he got static. Yo, he gonna be smoking. They got some. And the thing is, they gathered that off of whatever Joe Budden. It all kind of stemmed from Joe.
Yeah.
So. I don't want to stay on this too long, but this will be something that's going to be discussed pretty much, in and out, because this means a lot to us, because in terms of this is how we got anything in terms of a podcast going up, going down, how that world is moving. We're going to always be front and center speaking on the situation because it affects us. It's our news. You know what I mean? So